Mariners have never hurt anybody.
All right, we're here. We got Mr. Craig Gass. This is going to be the shit.
How are you?
Yeah, see, I do double duty. I used to be with the Kiss Room here. Now you got me here. Yeah, a little. But I got. So.
You know what's crazy? This table already feels like I've smoked pot with everyone at this table for some reason. Like, I already feel like comfortable at this table.
We did cross streams in our piece.
Yeah, probably.
We wrote our names in the snow. So I got headphones, which is much better. Craig, all I'm doing here is that.
Oh, dude.
It's just so much easier.
I've been wanting to get headphones from somebody for each of the podcasts because it's easier for me to do impressions when I can hear myself and I can like tune myself in. So.
Yeah, so it's just this way. We're going to flip it around. I'm going to flip it over to Jay. He's going to kick it, and then a couple cool things.
Can I get a little more volume?
Sure you can.
Hey, 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 hey. Meow, meow, Shay, meow.
Yeah.
Meow, Shay, meow. What's that? At the Kiss Expo in New Jersey.
How's that voice-wise?
That's right.
Craig, is that good?
A little. Wait, it's getting a little louder. Just the overall volume. Yeah. That's better. That's definitely better. Thank you.
Cool.
7-inch. Testes.
All right, can we start with me asking you a question?
Sure. Wait a second.
ask
Let me
any
just
of us.
flip it.
All right.
I'm going around that way. Here we go.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to make
All
it
right.
be easier. 1 second. I got to put it on. That's a Craig cam.
Do you do a Trujillo impression or? No? All right.
It's all you, sir.
Right on.
I was just thinking because I remember doing this is such a weird story, but I was at the Grammys a few years ago. They have like a radio row that's like this, where it's all these different tables of radio stations from all over the country broadcasting live from the Grammys. And all these random celebrities are coming in. And we had, this is my first time meeting this guy, and my first time realizing what kind of a reputation he has. Rob Schneider comes over and sits down at a table, and some friends of mine are broadcasting from St. Louis, and they go, dude, just sit here and just pretend to be other celebrities. And I go, all right, cool. So Rob Schneider comes over, and they go, hey, Rob Schneider, we're live in St. Louis with Rob Schneider. We're sitting here, and he introduces everybody on the show, and he goes, and we got Tracy Morgan. And I just went, hey, everybody, this show is sexy as hell. And then Rob Schneider looked over at me, and he was like, all right. And we start the interview. Something goes fucking sideways in 3 minutes, and Rob Schneider starts yelling at my friend, starts hitting the table and goes, no, fuck you. He stands up, and he goes, this is bullshit, throws off his headphones, and just goes, you guys are dicks, fuck you. And then he looks over at me and he goes, that's a good Tracy Morgan. And then he walked away. And then my friends were like, oh man, what an asshole. And I went, I don't know, I thought he was cool, man. Because he complimented me before he left. I was just like, oh man.
Did you ever find out what happened?
Oh yeah, I mean it all spilled out. What happened is when at the time Deuce Bigalow 1 or 2 had just come out, and Roger Ebert gave it a bad review. And fucking Rob Schneider pays for a full-page ad in the Hollywood Reporter to write a review for Roger Ebert's movie that he put out 20 years ago and talk about what a piece of shit that movie was. And so my buddy was like, man, you're such an angry guy. And he goes, I'm not angry. I'm not like, and then he got really angry and he fucking stormed off. And that's what made him mad. That's kind of the gist of what I remember that. So here's my question is, so far, what's been the best interview you've done so far here at Rocket Pod today? Because you've been talking to a bunch of people.
Craig Gass.
Oh, man.
Yeah, oh my God, I'm
That's
moist.
gratuitous.
I'm moist. But, look, everybody's been very different. And the cool thing, I love
It's gonna get
different.
political here.
And
look,
then, all right.
it's gonna get fucking deep with you, but so wow.
All right. And then on the flip
For me, it's simple enough. Like, we talked to Greg Bissonette yesterday.
No shit.
And
Yeah,
he was so
that was
fun.
badass.
Like, he's so flamboyant and so lovey and just loves his stuff.
No
And
shit.
Then, we just interviewed Ace Von Johnson,
Yeah.
who that's my buddy. So
Yeah.
getting to bro out with my homie
Yeah.
is always gives me the feels. So
I was going to say, you remind me a lot of Ace.
So the really cool thing on there with Craig, I did a phone call yesterday afterwards, and he's like, "Oh my God, your buddy got me my first gig," So I said, I said, yeah, I hang out with Mark Hudson Brothers,
Yeah.
Mark's, he goes, Mark got me the Ringo gig and this and that. So I called Mark, we all FaceTime Mark and everything. He's up in PA now doing a gig
No
tonight.
shit.
And it was Greg's like, oh my God. Mark's like, look, you get to LA, I need a session guy. I still have Ringo's kit in my studio. It's the kind of shit that happens.
Holy
And
shit.
again, look, I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for these three guys
Right.
and that fucking lovable teddy bear of a fucking Kiss Room guy right there.
No shit.
Matt Porter. But so,
All right, so that sounds like the highlight right there.
Yeah,
Now,
it kicked
on the
our
flip
ass.
side of that, have you had any awkward moments?
Well, there was one in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Well, you told me if I gave you $1. I'm sorry.
True.
All right, so it's
I'm
been
Jewish,
all
so we need more money. Come on now.
it's been all cool. It's been all smooth, and everybody's
you
good.
know what it
People
is?
sneaking up or sliding back behind me without giving me even just the courtesy of a reach around.
Yeah. All right, that
No,
can be awkward.
Creepy moment. Scoreboard, first night I was here, we were all out. It was like the pre-thing.
I remember that place.
I was over there, and the guy sitting at Matt Porter's table comes over and goes, hey, can I have one of your business cards? Find out he's a homeless guy, and he's collecting business cards to pretend he's other people. I'm like going,
No way.
oh, this is fucking weird. Matt goes, I thought he was the sound man. I'm like, dude, he's fucking walking around collecting everybody's business
Dude,
cards.
I remember being in New York City in a car at a busy intersection, and I look over and there's a homeless guy sitting there in the middle of traffic, and he's got a sign that says, and I can't remember the punchline, but it was like, how many homeless guys does it take to screw in a light bulb? And I was staring at it, and then he flipped it over, and the punchline was on the other side, and I just thought, fuck, I'm going to give him money, because that's going to be me someday, sitting in traffic. Like, I better put out some good karma for when I'm the homeless guy writing jokes on cardboard,
On cue
telling
cards,
jokes
there
in
you go.
traffic. But yeah, dude, it's sorry for starting out by making a hard left turn.
I'm
but
flipping it over
Oh,
to
hell
this
yeah,
guy.
dude,
Jay,
it's all
kick
good.
it. You know,
Nah, totally. Metal Summoners, thank you guys so much. We're drawing towards a close here at Rockin' Pod, but we've got the great Craig Gass with us right now.
excited to be here, excited to see a lot of old friends here, and people bringing up stuff that I've forgotten about that I've done in my life. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was a fun time, bringing up some old memories and some old stories. So
Yeah,
So-
man. So your experience has been solid. Have you had any like awkward moments / favorite shows of your own that you've done so far?
no awkward moments like doing stand-up. There was an awkward moment right before the whole thing closed. I remember being in New York on my last show was March 14th, Saturday, March 14th of 2020, and I was performing in New York City, and the club was a third full. Usually New York, every comedy club is
Yeah.
packed on Saturday nights, and it was a third full. There was a girl in the club who was in the crowd, and she coughed, and everyone in the room went, like, what the fuck are you, what are you doing? Like, everybody, there was so much tension.
we're all
in the
gonna
room.
die.
Yeah, and then everyone was struggling on stage. And the comic right before me, he was struggling the most. This is March of 2020. He finally just stopped in the middle of his act and said, all right, I think I'm going to get out of here. I got another show I got to do here in November. And then he just put the microphone down and walked off. And he got a big laugh for saying, I got another show in November. But yeah, there was a lot of awkward moments as the pandemic was starting. And then, but comedy's returning. And all I feel as I'm performing all over the country is people are just like happy to get out of the house and be able to laugh again with other people. So I get nervous, like the first couple shows, like people were laughing at me and I felt weird about them laughing in my direction. So the second show I brought up a fan, and then if people were laughing, I just started pointing the fan, like blowing the COVID in the other direction, like so they don't like laugh COVID on me. But I'm fully vaccinated now, so.
That was something that we all noticed because we all worked the M3 festival recently. And that
Oh,
was
that's
the-
right.
That was the dominant thing that we noticed was like just the happiness of everybody.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's a long 3-day festival, lots of bands. You're always burnt halfway or
Yep.
towards the end.
Yep.
But the whole day, everybody was just so happy. People giving high fives to each other, and they'd be like, they'd be walking with their mate, and they'd be like, "Oh, you know that person?" They'd be like, "No, I've never seen him before in my life." But they're just walking by people, just like
People are happy
just
to be
so
out.
happy
Absolutely.
to be out there, for sure. And the happiest of the happy, Psycho Steve.
So the question is, you've been doing voiceovers and impressions. I remember because I was working at Howard
Yep.
when you would talk to Gene for the first time.
Yep.
Who was your first impression that you ever did?
Well, as a kid, I always did impressions, not for the sake of doing impressions, but my whole family was deaf. Like
Yeah.
my mom, my dad, and my sister are all deaf, so I couldn't learn how to talk for my family. I learned how to talk by copying all the voices I heard on TV, and I never picked up the accent from the Bronx, which is where I'm from. And I always say on stage, everybody in the Bronx sounds like Tracy Morgan. Everybody in the Bronx talk like this, whether you black or white, male or female. That's crazy. Hey, this is the voice of your next door neighbor, and I'm a Vietnamese girl. That's crazy. Like everybody sounded like that. So as a kid, I would mimic everybody's voice on TV. I would do Howard Cosell and the Fonz and Muhammad Ali. And then in my teenage years, when I started partying, I'd be at parties, and friends of mine would go, Craig, dude, if we give you some Coke, will you do some impressions for us? And I'd be like, fuck yeah, I'll do that, man. And I got really good at impressions, but I also developed a really bad Coke habit that I had to figure out how to back out of, which took me a long time. But
Nice.
But yeah, it was always mimicking, and then I'll mimic anybody around me that I'm spending a lot of time with. If I tell a story about somebody, I tell a story about them doing their voice, and it's just always been a natural thing for me. And the weirder the voice, the easier it is for me to do it. So, there's a lot of guys in bands that I loved that I'd be like, oh man, it'd be easy to do their voice because I listen to them do interviews so much.
So who's your favorite artist to do a voice?
There's a lot of them. Like, I love to tell funny stories about them, and then as I tell the story, the impression gets better. Like, I'm the first comedian to ever open for Metallica, and as a direct support act back in 2003, I think it was. I did stand-up comedy opening for Metallica. The drummer of Metallica introduces me to his band and goes, hey man, this is Craig. This is the guy that does all the voices. And check it out, his whole family's retarded. I go, they're not retarded, they're fucking deaf, dude. What the fuck are you talking about? He goes,
Speaking of retarded,
deaf, retarded? Yeah.
No,
Hey, what's happening?
Matt Porter.
What's happening, Matt Porter? And Tracy Morgan's one of my favorites to do.
Gene.
And then Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley and...
So, do you got to get a more or less digest them to come in and...
Sometimes I'll get a tip. Like the Gene Simmons, believe it or not, a friend of mine who works for Aerosmith, his name is John Bianelli. He's the guy who taught me how to do a Gene Simmons impression 20 years ago. He said, dude, if you want to do Gene Simmons, watch Benjamin Netanyahu. It's the same voice. Sure. Hi, this is Benjamin Netanyahu from KISS. It's the same voice. And then once you listen to Benjamin Netanyahu, it's like, oh shit, yeah, that guy sounds just like Gene Simmons. And then you learn it. So you'll hear like baby steps on how to get to a voice, and then you'll just put it together.
So Paul, how did you get the voice?
Paul Stanley, I noticed he barely talks off stage. There's two Paul Stanleys. Off stage, in interviews, he's really soft, and he barely talks, And I remember, and he also says incredible self-esteem things. Like, I remember seeing an interview with him, and somebody said, Paul, why is KISS so amazing? And Paul Stanley said, a lot of bands are envious of KISS. I'm even envious of KISS. And I was like, God damn, that is some fucking confidence, dude. That is fucking, holy shit, dude.
All right,
And
Angel.
I love that guy, yeah. And, and then there's on stage Paul Stanley, where I saw Paul Stanley say this on stage in Las Vegas. Paul Stanley said, all right, people, now listen. I know this town, Las Vegas, is known for its buffets. And I can tell you right now, after this show, I see a lot of people in the front row that I really want to eat. And then he started fixing his hair, and I was like, what the fuck? And then I saw him 2 months later, same tour. I see him in New York City at Madison Square Garden. I'm hanging out with a bunch of comedian friends of mine at night, and I tell people who work for KISS, I go, dude, were you listening in Las Vegas when Paul Stanley said he was going to eat the front row? 3 different guys that work for KISS said to me, did you hear what he said in Omaha? I said, no. Like,
Same damn thing.
3 different guys. No, he's in Omaha, Nebraska. They all reported that Paul Stanley said, all right, people, now listen.
You know, I know this town, Omaha, Nebraska. It's known for its Angus beef. And I can tell you right now, after this show, I'm going to want to sink my teeth into some meat.
And the whole crowd went, what? And then he came back to the mic and said, now wait a minute, hold on.
You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a thigh or a rump roast.
And the whole crowd went, what? And then apparently the guitar techs behind the stage were looking at each other going, what the fuck's he doing up there? Like just kind of dug a little bit of a hole. I think comedians everywhere can relate to that. You put yourself in a little bit of a hole, you got to figure out how to get out. But yeah, I love that dude. That dude, Paul Stanley, just put me on the Kiss Cruise this fall, man. He has the greatest sense of humor.
Fucking cool.
I fucking love that guy. Yeah.
Angel. Rocket.
Speaking
Robert
of
Trujillo.
his sense of humor.
Settle down, dumbass.
I can't hear a single word you're saying, sir.
He said home.
Yes.
What's the toughest impersonation to do?
The toughest impersonation, I guess women's voices. Like, I'm going back on the Howard Stern show soon. There's an impression that a comedian named Robert Smigel asked me to learn for a TV show he's working on. He had a casting director reach out to me and said, hey, can you do Mike Lindell? Do you know who Mike Lindell is? And I said, the My Pillow guy? And he said, yeah. And I was like, well, fuck, I smoked crack once, so I think I'm halfway there. So I just listen to that voice, and it's some voices just hit you right that you can just hear it. Like Mike Lindell.
Hey everybody, Mike Lindell from My Pillow. I'm a recovering crackhead. I'm clean and sober now. Listen to Craig Gass. He's going to be back on the Howard Stern show. You must listen, please. It's very important. I'll suck your dick. I'm sorry, I'm a recovering crackhead. But listen to Craig. I'll let you shave my pillows. I'm sorry, I'm a recovering crackhead.
So if you listen to somebody long enough, I can get it down, but it just takes time. Women's voices and singing voices are hard for me to do because I can't carry a tune. So, but I think that would be the answer to that
That
question.
shaving stuff sounded like a Bobby night out.
Really?
I got a question for him.
Go ahead. Throw it
Go
in.
ahead. What's the question?
So here I got October 7th. We lost
Eddie.
great guy. I just got a chance to see Wolf last Saturday.
With Guns N' Roses?
Yeah, at Hershey Park, opening night, those guys. I worked with a buddy of mine who was very close with Ed, Adam Reaver.
Okay.
Adam just went and cataloged all of Ed's guitars.
Okay.
2004, you lived in the studio.
I did.
Explain that shit. Dude, if you're going to live somewhere, you live in fucking 5150. Some of us are just 5150, but you fucking lived in Ed's studio.
It was surreal. It starts at a Scorpions Dokken concert at the Universal Amphitheater that I want to say was in 2002. There's a guy named Scott Uchida who worked for Dunlop. The only hobby I've ever had besides cocaine was collecting guitar picks. And Scott Uchida worked for Dunlop, and they made autographed guitar picks. And so he was a guy I wanted to be friends with because I wanted to get some guitar picks from him. And he, backstage at the Scorpions Dokken concert, that dude is doing me a solid. He's introducing me to all these rock stars backstage and all these people, some of which, if I don't recognize them as a rock star, when he says their name, I'm like, dude, you're on the liner notes for Last in Line. They're like, oh, okay, weirdo. Like, I'm such a fan that I know who all these people are he's introducing me to. They all work in the music industry. And at one point he goes, oh, shit. Okay, dude, I'm going to introduce you to this guy. Okay, don't tell anybody. This guy lives with one of the biggest rock stars on the planet. But don't tell him I told you that. And we walk over and he goes, Matty. Hey, buddy. I don't know if you're a fan of Howard Stern or if you watch these TV shows.
I love Matt.
Comedian Craig Gass. And the guy turns around and goes, oh, my God. Dude, I'm your biggest fan. I go, get the fuck out of here. Are you serious? And we start talking. We exchange phone numbers. We make a plan to go bowling. And on the night that we're going to go bowling, I called him up and I said, hey, dude, we're going to do 9 o'clock. Is that okay for you? Because they have a league night until 9. Are you okay with meeting at 9 o'clock? He goes, yes. Quick question. Is it okay if I bring a friend of mine, Ed, with me? Because I've been telling him about you, and he loves your work, and he's dying to meet you. And I said, yeah, I don't care. And he goes, all right, because he's got a kid. His kid's 12. And I go, dude, it's bowling. Who gives a shit? And he showed up to the bowling alley with fucking Eddie Van Halen. And Eddie walks in smoking a cigarette. You're not supposed to be smoking in the fucking bowling alley. And he walks in, and Maddie goes, Ed! And I look up, and this guy goes, hey, which one of you guys is a comedian? And I go, it's me. And he goes, hey, man, I'm Eddie Van Halen. And I go, yeah, well, yeah, hi. And he goes, Wolfie is the guy. And I come to realize Maddie, I realize, is Eddie Van Halen's assistant.
Tech.
He
Yeah.
lives on his property in a guest house, and he runs the 5150 Studios. And Maddie is such a fan of the Howard Stern Show that he gets up every morning at 5 a.m. to go into the studio and listen to all 5 hours of the Howard Stern Show because he's that much of a fan. And when I started showing up, Maddie starts telling Ed, dude, there's this guy on the show does a fucking amazing Christopher Walken impression. And then a week later, oh my God, the same guy does a fucking Sam Kinison impression. A week later, oh my God, the same guy does a Paul Stanley impression. Oh my God, he does a Gene Simmons impression. And so at the bowling alley, Eddie is telling me my whole story back to me, and he goes, dude, he goes, I know all about you. And I'm like, oh yeah? And he's telling me all these stories, and it's surreal because one of the stories he told me, I said on the air, I've been broke my whole life. All I've ever wanted, once I started making money, was to own an illegal cable box. That's all I've wanted, is an illegal cable box. And at the bowling alley, Eddie goes, dude, that's crazy, you want an illegal cable box. He goes, is that true? And I said, yeah, it is true. And he goes, that's crazy, because, and he looked both ways, and he went, I got an illegal cable box, too. And I was like, are you serious? And he goes, yeah, the thing is, I'm fucking rich, but don't want to pay for cable. And I was like, are you fucking serious? What? And it was like, and then over the course of the next year and a half, I end up hanging out with Mandy a lot at the studio.
Yeah.
Ed would show up. Then I got in a bad relationship. Eddie said you can move in. I packed my shit and moved in. And I lived at Eddie's house from January till about almost right before the beginning of the summer of 2004. And it was surreal. It was just a surreal fucking time. There's a lot of funny things that happened. One of them was that in March of that year, I took Maddie to go see Metallica. And I met a girl at the Forum who was really cool. We were texting each other all night. And at the end of the night, like at midnight, she calls me and says, hey, I just dropped off my girlfriend's. What are you doing? And I said, I just got home. And she goes, where's home? And I said, I'm in the Hollywood Hills. And she goes, you want me to come over? And I said, sure. I don't know. Let me check and make sure that's okay. And she goes, oh my God, you have a girlfriend? I said, no, I don't have a. I live in a really unique situation. And let me call you back. I hung up. I found Ed, and I go, Eddie, I don't know if Maddie told you, I met a girl tonight at the show. Is it okay to bring a girl? Like, I'll keep her up at the studio. Is that okay? And he said, dude, get some pussy. Okay, cool. All right, cool. So I called her up, and I said, all right, hey, do me a favor. I need you to meet me at the bottom of the hill. There's a Ralph's supermarket. I need you to meet me in the parking lot. And she jumped in my car. We drove up. She's asking me, like, why do you need permission? And I go, and I don't know how to say, I live at Eddie Van Halen. Like, I don't know how to say that. So we go all the way up to the top. I go through the back gate. I open up the door of the studio. I let her walk in first. She walks in and goes,
5150 right on the fucking wall.
She has no idea what. No, it doesn't say. I don't see 5150 on the wall. She walks in and says, wow, is your friend like the biggest Van Halen fan on the planet or what? And I was like,
oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. And then she starts looking around and going, how do you get stuff like this? And then I finally went, do you hear the music in the next room? That's Van Halen. This is Eddie Van Halen's house, and he's letting me stay here until I get on my feet. She went, okay. And to answer the next question that everybody always asks, 2 minutes. It was like 2 minutes after that. It was just like, boom. Like, yeah. So instantaneous, but.
Dude, that house was like Spanish Fly, dude.
Yeah, that's. And you know what? I'm not the only one to crash on that couch. I know a few people who mostly have worked with Van Halen that Ed let crash on that couch. So I know if there's a small club of us that have all slept on that same couch, that he was nice enough and generous enough, and it was surreal. Was
that pre-Jeannie? Was it right when Jeannie came into the picture?
It was after Jeannie. He was dating. Not many people know he was dating a girl who was she worked in the industry, but it wasn't.
Okay. We
Yeah,
got to keep it cool.
Oh, we're gonna have an exclusive.
No, okay,
Yeah,
I
she-
have to watch.
Yeah, she. But no, it was before her, and it was January to like April or May of 2004. It was right when the tour started. I went to one of the first dates at Mandalay Bay, and I would kind of stop in periodically over the next couple of months. But I was mostly out of there in May, but I would stay there from time to time. But only in 2004. So.
Dude, that's awesome.
But yeah,
Craig.
man, it was kind of a surreal time, man. But thank you guys for having me on. I know I went
course.
way the fuck over my
No,
time.
that's
but
great.
All
We
right,
love it.
dude. No
Yeah,
worries,
thank you.
man. Hell yeah.
Thank you
So
guys.
wait, I'm gonna let you. Jay's got to get the last question real
All right,
quick.
do it, Jay. Let's hear it.
Jay, it's all about
Jay,
you,
by the
brother.
way, who do people tell you look like?
Ace Von Johnson. I
Hey.
get a young Ozzy Osbourne, and I get Will Ferrell.
You look like a friend of mine named Sean Kinney, who's the drummer of Alice in Chains. Who, especially with those glasses, because he wears glasses like that. And Sean, the last time he was, when I did a tour opening for Alice in Chains, where I did stand-up comedy as their opening act back in 2008, I think it was. And for some reason, people kept stopping Sean and going, "Oh my God, Trent Reznor, can I get a picture with you?" And he was like, "What?" And then he would take pictures of people like, "Yeah, sure." And even though it bothered him that he's like, "I'm not fucking Trent Reznor." And then I did a comedy show at a place called the Comedy Underground in Seattle, and Sean and Jerry were at my show, and I go, by the way, I want to point out, we had some local musicians. We had some musicians that stopped in. They were like, "Oh man!" I go, "Ladies and gentlemen, Trent Reznor from 9 Inch Nails," and Sean stood up and went, "Hello," and to this day, I have friends that are like, "Dude, I can't believe I was sitting right next to Trent Reznor that night, man. That was fucking awesome." And I haven't told them still to this day, unless they hear this podcast, that wasn't Trent Reznor. That was Sean
They
Kinney.
got fucked.
The Ace thing has, and Ace is my buddy. He's aware of it. He thinks it's hilarious, but I get all the time. I'm like mistaken, drinks put in my hand, stuff like that, which is hilarious because if you've ever seen Ace, his neck is not tattooed. If you've ever seen Ace, his hands are not tattooed.
Yep.
Like, so it's just kind of funny. He and I have developed a hashtag called Fake Von Johnson, so we'll take pictures together, and I always put that up. But the other one that I'm getting real quick that I'll close out on this is I tie my hair back a lot, and I put on like a backwards baseball cap, and my glasses are always glued on my face, and I've been getting a lot of M shadows from Avenged Sevenfold
No
because
shit,
of
I
that.
can see that,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so I've been getting that a lot. But Craig, enjoy the rest of your day,
Yeah,
brother.
Thank you, brother.
So
One
much.
quick thing. So my partner is from California.
Yep.
He was a former congressman from the area.
Yep.
Tony Coelho. I sent Tony your note. Tony was the author of the Americans with Disability Act.
The author of what?
The ADA, Americans with Disability
Oh,
Act.
okay.
And he's seen that, and I sent him your Wikipedia and your stuff, and he thinks it's amazing. How can I get in contact? Tony would love to reach out to you. Just your whole thing of growing up in a community with you, both your parents being
The whole
deaf.
family, yeah.
Yeah, and that he would like to talk to you about a couple things.
Absolutely, dude. You just hit me up on any social media. Anything.
Got it. Craig, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, bro.
All right, brother.
All right.
Thank you, man. I'll see you guys next time.
Absolutely. We will be right back with our final interview of the day. You've been watching the Metal Summit.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.